Alright, and the next thing we're going to talk about is we have a Windows machine here, and we need to interconnect it with our checkpoint device, right? So, but because we don't have a policy right now, we are not able to even ping it, and we have checked it in a previous lesson, in a previous video. So the ping is still going here. So what we're going to do, we're gonna go for our SmartConsole, and the first thing you need to do, we have an object over here. We need to double click it, and in that object, once it is opened, we're gonna go for network properties, and we have to tweak a couple things. And the first thing, we need to check out what is happening with our networking. Even though we have set it up, and we have set it up properly, so we might have problems here. So let's check it out. And it is really important to always consider that, regardless of whether it's your first installation or you've been working with Checkpoint for some time. It's always it's always a good idea to check it out. So here in network management, you can see your interfaces. But over here, you can also see the topology. Basically, the topology is something that you define behind an interface. You can say, hey, here's going to be my internal network behind Ethernet 0, and there's going to be an external network behind that, interface, for example. But over here, as you can see, by default, it's unidentified, undefined. So basically, you have to define it, right? You have to select what it's going to be. If it's not defined, it's going to be dropped, regardless of whether you have a security policy or not, and it's going to be dropped because of the anti-spoofing rule, because we don't know what to expect from that interface. We don't know what subnet should actually get on that interface, so that's why we are dropping that. Couple of things that we can actually do here is the first thing we do, we click get interfaces, and it is basically grabbing and fetching all the information from our device, from our gateway, and it should actually recognize whether this interface is external by looking at its IP address, and recognize what is this address, whether it's internal or external. So we just click get interfaces, and we do get interfaces with topology. If it doesn't work, we have to manually click and define the interface, define its priority, right? Define where what side it is facing. So we're gonna click get interfaces with topology. Let's do that, and over here we can see, okay, so it was defined properly once we actually perform that procedure. So we can see that this interface, this address, has the external direction, and 192.168.1.1 interface has internal direction, and that's fine. So once we do that, we will not have any problems with our anti-spoofing. Once we do that, let's give it a quick second. So now there are no issues over here, but if you do have any problems with get interfaces with topology, you can always double click it, edit a specific interface, get in there and do it manually. Anyway, so I have done it, and until I actually publish and install a policy, no configuration is applied. This is how Checkpoint works. We have to first publish it. By publishing that, we actually updating the database of the management server, and when we install a policy, we fetch that information from the management server and install it on a gateway. Even though we have a standalone device where we have a gateway which processes the traffic, and the management which has all the policies on one device, even though we have them on one device, we still have that structure where we have to publish it first from our SmartConsole, and then we have to install it on our gateway. How Checkpoint calls it is three-way architecture, because we have three components: SmartConsole, we have Smart Management, and we have Smart Gateway. So anyway, so I haven't applied it yet because there is one thing I want to do. So if we go for security policy, this is where we actually perform either allow or deny blocks, or allowness, I guess. We either allow traffic or block the traffic based on its IP address, based on its name, or other properties like ports, services that are used, or something else. By default, we have a policy which is by default is drop. It's not a magic how to do that. There are a lot of rules, there are a lot of guidances how you can actually do that. But the implied rule by default, and for a security reason, should be drop. It should be the last rule always. So first we allow something, and if our specific connection didn't hit an allow rule, it will be dropped by a default rule, which has to be actually logged, even though it's gonna require a lot of traffic, but it's good practice to always log it. But over here in our lab environment, I'm gonna select it as accept, so I can connect my Windows machine without actually too much thinking. So we can sort things out over here, so and understand that this was an issue why we are not able to connect it, why we are having drops. So I have selected as accept, and for lab reasons it's fine, but if in real production you don't want to do that, because the whole idea of a firewall is when you have this rule as denied, and you want to deny pretty much everything unless you want to allow something. This is security, so this is the whole point of security when we talk about firewalling. So okay, I have selected that as accept. We have logging enabled in case I want to see some logs, and let's install the policy. When I click install policy without pushing here, we're gonna have an option here right away, which is publish and install. So we're gonna click publish and install, and in 1 second, maybe 2 seconds, maybe okay, I'm just gonna take checkpoint words for that. Take a moment. We're gonna wait for a moment while it's being published, and they're gonna ask us what kind of policy we want to install, whether it's gonna be access control policy or it's going to be threat prevention policy. A threat prevention policy is all security blades, everything that is related to signature based analysis, like IPS, like antivirus, or like sandboxing. So everything that has to do with checking out whether the feature is malicious or not. Alright, let's install the policy. We're gonna click install button over here and wait until the installation process is complete. Usually it takes a couple minutes, should be faster since we don't have too many policies. Alright, perfect. We have installed the policy, and now is the time we actually go on our Windows machine and see if we are getting any traffic. And as you can see, the traffic is getting there, and you can see the traffic was running all the time. Now it's working perfectly fine. We are able to ping our device, and our firewall is accepting that.